Good morning, this is Ron Brown. It's December 4th, 2021. I'm going to do a short market analysis using ACS Investor, and I want to show you a few things that I've added. By the way, if you're an Insider Club member, I'm going to do a webinar this Thursday afternoon at 2:30 Central Time. So I've just installed my December add-on, and this is what I have on my screen. What I want to show you is how I'm going to get where I want to go very quickly and start doing some analysis. I'm going to click on my top-down views for market analysis, major markets, and then I'll click over here and I will go down to my market analysis user groups. I'm going to go to my major markets plus, click on that, and you can see that I'm now in this, and I'm in my top-down analysis major markets. I've sorted on raw combo. It's showing me what the indexes did yesterday along with the Bitcoin investment trust, and you can see that the utility index was up as there was a flight to safety. Transportation was slightly up, but everything else was hit fairly hard. You can also see, and let me point this out, that the change from the beginning of the year for these indexes is still very strong. Nice returns for anybody who's in buying the indexes, the Qs and the SPY and so on. Since the first of the year, you can see there's been a really nice return on that. But recently, there's been a lot of turmoil in the market, as you all know, and a lot of those gains can disappear quickly. I'm going to get down to my analysis here. I'm going to go into the, if I can find it, the composite, the Nasdaq Composite right here. It was hit hard yesterday, nearly 2%. And then I'm going to click on the quick pick, go into my top-down analysis charts, market charts, and I'll go to the Nasdaq internals used with the Nasdaq. And I'll make this a little bit larger, and I'll make it full screen here in a minute. But what I did this week is I added the accumulation distribution indicator to this chart, and also I have added the zigzag indicator, and I'm going to click on edit indicator and go to support and resistance lines, which is the zigzag indicator, and sensitivity is 1, so if there's a 1% change, then new lines will be drawn, and that's I think that's a good setting for the indexes, especially the composite. And then 4 lines, there will be 4 lines that are considered resistance and 4 lines that are considered support. Now, if you don't want this to show up, just click on invisible, and some of them will disappear. Let me go back in, support and resistance. I forgot to do the other invisible. So I did the support lines, or the resistance lines, and now the support lines. They're both gone. But I'm going to bring them back up, edit the indicator. Oh, darn it, I did the wrong thing. Sorry about that. Edit indicator, support and resistance. I'll just leave those numbers at 4 and 1. Use the thin lines, and then this gives us a visual of support and resistance based upon the zigzag indicator. Interestingly enough, the composite found support, which goes clear back. This was resistance, and it became support, and it was support clear back here. So just using this indicator, we get a nice visual of what happened. If this breaks, the next support based upon the zigzag indicator would be down at this level here. And if you do an alternate eye, it shows you the support and resistance levels right in here, right in through here. But I usually don't look at that. I just look at the chart. Okay, let me make this full screen. As you can see on the daily chart, it's been a pretty brutal week. Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. Monday looked okay, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the new virus scare. Also, the employment numbers were not good. But I think this is primarily just fear from the coronavirus, inflationary fears, and so on. And these stocks, as a rule, are just massively overvalued. So nobody seems to consider that anymore. But when I started doing this, that was also always one of the main considerations. But that there's so much money out there now, it's just a lot of it's just momentum trading. Anyway, so we have support right here. You can see that there were some buyers coming in here because of the lower wick. This happened in the last few minutes of the market day. Let's look at some of these other things. Here is a warning on the way up. Here's another VPA warning. Here's a warning plus a confirmation going down. Even though it bounced this, they had another triangle. This was a low volume test right here on this one, down the next day, and another test here with an effort to rise, but the news just overwhelmed it. Here's an effort to fall, big black candle, another low volume test on Thursday, and then yesterday it looked like it was not going to stop, but as you can see, it did. Support came in, but so we had a pretty rough week, or pretty rough 2 weeks actually. Now, why did I add the AD in here? The the AD accumulation distribution, because I was reading something and they said this person said the only place you can find the AD is in Investors Business Daily, and that's not true. This has been in the software ever since I've been involved with the software, and I really haven't utilized it enough. So I think it will be very helpful to have in here. We're going to take a look at this. You can see back here, after it sold off here, this was in the red, which is E distribution. Then it went to D distribution. Then it went to C, and then B, and then A. And these lines represent velocity based over 10 days, the brown line, and the blue line is the actual accumulation. So you can see this going up. Now after it gets up here, the accumulation is not so strong, as you can see, and the velocity starts falling off, and it continued to fall here, even though the accumulation got up in the upper part of the window. A accumulation, the velocity over 10 days had started slowing down at that point. So we get a visual that there has been, some lessening of accumulation is what it stands for. And then what do we have here? We have a lower high on the A accumulation while the market is still going up. It's still A accumulation, but these lines help us see what's happening between the bars, or within the bars, I should say. And then it just started going down, obviously, when the market started going down. But there was a little warning here that the accumulation was falling off. Then the velocity stayed flat, and then it turned down. So I think this will be helpful. Now we're at D, distribution. We're oversold. Volume picked up Friday. It was actually down Thursday compared to the prior 2 days. Here are the advancing versus declining stocks, the advancing declining volume. The new lows are the red line compared to the new highs, and then the ARMS index, which I find pretty useless, to tell you the truth. I should probably just get it out of there. But we get a real snapshot of what happened in the Nasdaq. Now if you want more detail, you just click on your alternate I key and it'll show you the support and resistance plus all this other information. Click on the last day. You make sure you click on that, and then here's other information. But the primary information, in addition to the advancing versus declining issues and so on, I just have over here. And here's the change since the beginning of the year. It's 7% off the 52-week high. Percentage price change 1 day. The closing range on the bar at 28.83%. It gapped down, or it had an opening gap of 0.30 to the upside compared to the prior day's close. You can see that right here. Here was the opening gap, and then it looked strong at the beginning, and then it started falling off. VPOC is negative. I already talked about that. Bongo weekly no. Bongo daily no. Still in an uptrend. The fan is still in an uptrend. The 100's above the 200. The 50's above the 100. The 18's above the 50. So the fan is still in place, but it's got to be getting a little weaker. Volume was above the 90-day. The last volume was 5 billion. Volume change 9%. So there's a tremendous amount of information in here if you want to take the time to study it. Now, something else I put in. And if you go down here, here's a Nasdaq HGSI index internals, the advanced decline line, and the NYSE. Now, this is an indicator that I didn't even know was in HGSI. I've been using this program for 20 years, and I put this in here and I started looking at the indexes, and this is the market index, the AD line for the Nasdaq, and you can see the accumulation distribution. I'm going to edit this, right mouse click, edit indicator, open this up, and you can see this is the comment is advancing and declining issues of the 3 major market indexes, and I selected Nasdaq. I have one for Nasdaq, one for NYSE, and it's a 10-day. The red line's a 10-day simple moving average of the advanced decline line. I didn't put one in for the Amex because the Amex is just loaded up with ETFs and everything else. That is one of the options though. So let's take a look at this, and this just gives us a different view of what's happening in the market now. I'm going to draw this, and you can see that the on the Nasdaq, the accumulation, it was flat in here, but it's been going down long term, and then it really broke here below the moving average, and this happened. If I go straight down, well, it happened right here on this down day, and even though the market climbed back up, this went flat, didn't really start trending up again, and then it turned down here. Interesting, isn't it? The advanced declines were going down and the market was going up. So I thought this would be a very helpful indicator for us to see what's going on within the market. Now I did the same thing for the NYSE. Look at this. Look at this accumulation fell off in the NYSE. Now the chart itself is the trend chart, the VPA trend chart. And if you click here on any of these bars, I'll click on this one over here. Look over here. It tells me the long-term trend is still up, but the medium and short-term trends are down. You can click on any of these. Like blue tells you long term is up, medium is down, and the short term is up. The orange, up, down, already mentioned that. These light green ones, up, short. But the darker green ones tell us everything is up. So you can just get a quick visual on these. This is the NYSE. So once again on the quick pick. You're going to find these charts number 10 and number 11, and I suggest that if you're looking at the NYSE, you put the NYSE in here rather than the Nasdaq. You get a totally different look here. I know most of our analysis is done on the Nasdaq, but if you want the NYSE, it's here also. So those are some things that I've done, and I decided to put the accumulation distribution bars on top here. Let me go back to the Nasdaq and put the Nasdaq Composite in here. So going back here to, let's see, you can see the accumulation was going up here, and the advanced decline line was going up, and the accumulation lines are going up here, but the AD line was pretty flat. You can see that. And then when the AD line went to A, we got a spike up, but then the AD advanced decline line started going down, even though this was A and B accumulation, but you can also see that the velocity had fallen off. So just something to help us get an inside look at the markets. Rather than listening to the commentators, you don't have to listen to any of that stuff. They don't necessarily know as much as you do. Now, since I'm on the Nasdaq Composite, I'm going to bring the quick pick up, quickly go up, back up to the new highs versus new lows. And you can see that the new lows have really shot up, and the new highs have fallen into this territory. Let me do an alternate monthly chart and look at the new lows here. The last time we had this many new lows compared to the new highs was back in February, March of 2020. What was this date here? Alternate I. That's to February of 2020. And, you know, going all the way back here, I don't see another one at this level. Here's the crosshair. I'm going back in time here. Okay, there's the one that I just looked at, but going back a lot further, I don't see any spikes like this. So obviously this market is oversold in a big way. Does that mean it's going to bounce right back? Not necessarily. If you've been through any market meltdowns in your life, you know that these things can continue. And like I said, the valuations are so terribly high. It's scary. At least it's scary to me. It may not be scary to you. Okay, let's do something else now. I'm going to drop down to my broad market indices, and then I'm going to change this up here on my quick pick. I'm going to go down to HGSI index analysis. And then on my charts, this is a warehouse view, I'm going to go to my HGSI index charts, and I'll bring up, let's just bring up the all. I'll look at the all Nasdaq since I've been talking about the Nasdaq. Zoom out on this once again. It's the trend chart. But look at this. Look at the accumulation. The E's versus the E's are the reds. The A's are the dark green. Let's make this full screen. Put my crosshair on here. Let's go back in time. I only index for this is why I do index for 2 years, so I can get a better look at this. Let's go to 4, and this is back in that February time period of 20. You can see that the distribution was much worse then than it is now. But, this market hasn't corrected that much. So let's see if I can zoom in on this some. And here's where we are. Okay, this is the A's versus the B, or A and E's. If you look up here, this is A and B is green, and distribution is D and E. So both of these are quite high, which indicates an oversold market. Look at the volume that came in here. So this is just movement in and out of certain accumulation ranges, and the A and E, plus the bar up here at the top. Now this is the Chaikin indicator is included in this. This is part of the accumulation distribution formula. You can see that I have what's called in here, or what I call VFB buy and sells, based upon this, based upon accumulation falling down below this center bar, and then it gives a sell signal. Here is a sell signal. Here is another one here. You can see that there's one right here. The rose is sell and the green is buy. These things don't always work, but it's just another visual to help you know where the market cycle is. What I'm talking about here is the market cycle. You have to know what the market cycle is doing, or you're going to get run over. And there are favorable times to buy stocks, and there are unfavorable. And right now, obviously, we're in the unfavorable. Let's just move down this list a little bit. Here's the AD line yesterday. This is a percentage, 72% down and 23.5 up for a, let's see what, 0.33, 3 to 1 down day yesterday. That's what the 0.33 stands for. So, and this is the percent above the 20, 30, 50, and 200. I changed this to a 50-day moving average for everything, the red line. It just makes more sense to me rather than having the same moving average, like a 20 days percent of the stocks above the index for 20 days and a 20-day moving average. So everything is based upon the 50, and you can see that obviously these stocks are moving down with the market outside the Bollinger Bands here. Now another thing I want to show you is that on this view, I'm on top-down percentage price change one day. I have put the index numbers, the percent above the 20, 30, 50, and 200. So if you have this up, well, the chart is up, and I'm looking at the all Nasdaq, I can go down here and see that only 15% of the stocks in the all Nasdaq are above their 20-day moving average. Above the 30, 19.70. Above the 50, only 27%, and above the 200, only 29%. So you can see that these stocks are really beaten down. All this information is available to us every day in HGSI. Some people wonder why I have these market, all these indicators or indexes, because they all do something. So anyway, just good for analysis. I'm going to go down through a few more of these. Well, I'll just run through them. Okay, this is another buy-sell. I put the accumulation distribution up here without the lines, so we could see what each of these indexes are doing at this point. And this is indicates a 3 to 1 down day. It's rose. If it were red, dark red here, that would indicate a 5 to 1 down day. This is a 5 to 1 day decliners over advancers on this day. These are all red. These are the force indexes and the volume point of control. No bar over here because these all have to be lined up to generate a bar. There's a sale on this clear back here. Now let me go to the S&P 1500 and see what it looks like. Okay, so you can see the S&P 1500 generated a sell bar here, a sell bar here, and another not as intensive sell bar here. So these are 5-to-1 down days up here on the advancers and the decliners and the volume. And everything was red. Ignore the accumulation distribution. It's not figured into the formula or into the filter. So I just like to look at this to see if these are lining up, and then these are potential buys and sells. See, over here it says potential buy or sell. It doesn't say buy or sell. Okay. I'll go back to the all Nasdaq. I just wanted to see if they were giving me sell signals. Here's the AD line on the all Nasdaq, and this is the percent above the 50. I just wanted a closer look at the percentage above. See how this corresponds with the AD line. And here's information here. This is the last day only. This is the AD line again. And it gives you all this information about accumulation and so on. You can look at that on your own time. I don't want to spend time on it. And let's see, where was I? Oh, I've made a mistake. I've got to clean something out. Looks like I have a duplicate here. So I need to get, you will only have one. I'll delete this. I don't know why I did that. I must have been experimenting like I always do. Okay, so that's number 8. Number 9 has the force indexes, so you can look at the 13 and the 2-day force, and also the expansion, contraction, the 3 and the 6, the 6 and the 18, and the 18 and the 50. You can see that the 3 and 6 crossed over clear back here, and then the 6 and 18 crossed over here to the downside. I'm going to get rid of these VPA flags and put the display up here. The VPA flags don't work all that great on these indexes because these indexes are created from the highs and lows of numbers of stocks, so you don't really get the true highs and lows, so I just eliminated it here. And what else do I have? McClellan oscillator, totally oversold. Edit this, edit the indicator. Oops. What it is, it's the index breadth indicator computed from the difference, which is misspelled, of the 19-day and the 39-day EMA of the difference. It was spelled correctly here, of the advancing and declining issues. And the source is the HGSI index. And if we look at this from the longer term, you can see that it's down here at the extreme levels, which dates back to that February time frame in 2020. I'll bring this up a little bit. You can see VPA colors don't start kicking in until 120 days are recorded. So here we are. Okay, here's my crosshair. We're not down to this level yet, but that was a total meltdown in the market, and we're not too far off, but clearly oversold. This up here, if you do the alternate I key, this is Friday, tells me the number of advancers versus decliners, and if I move this out, it tells me it was a 3-to-1 day to the downside. If you click on this, move anywhere, if I go clear back here to this date, which was May 14th, it tells me it was a 5-to-1 day to the upside with this red spike up here. So once again, we have all this information available in the program. This is just a trend chart with accumulation distribution, and this one has the bars or the bars in it which are showing direction. Okay, let's make this more of a close-up. And these are all sell signals based upon the accumulation distribution going down. It doesn't necessarily, this one I believe has to be below the line. This one has to be heading down. So another way to look at the market. Let's go back in time here. Now here, market, everything's down as far as the best fit VPA trends. Down, down, down. And then on this day, the short term turns up. You can see that there were sell signals all along here, but notice what's happening on the accumulation distribution. The AD, the accumulation distribution, is up, and the velocity's already been up, turning up here. So even though the accumulation is D and then, E and then D and then C, these lines are moving up much earlier. So we're getting some accumulation based upon price and volume, and then it moved up. We peaked here on the A accumulation. When we peaked, notice that these turned down. So after looking at all these charts and this information, the conclusion is that this market's extremely oversold. But will it bounce, and how much will it bounce? There are stocks that are moving up, but you're fighting the tide. Let me show you something else before I conclude this video. I'm going to go into all securities. I'll just right mouse click, change to that. Then I'm going to click on this. I'm going to type in leaders. Leaders up on volume yesterday. I want to go to a different chart. By the way, I've added this in my VP layout charts. I put an accumulation chart in here too. Sort on raw combo. You can see that these stocks here were up for the day on volume, 35 of them, not many. If I click on this in the industry, you can see there were some semiconductors and REITs, but not many. But here's the VPA information, and here's the accumulation information on this. Heavy volume is going to spike up the Chaikin, and it went from C to B accumulation. Let's take a look at a few more. I'm going to change charts. I just wanted you to know that's chart number 14 under my VPA layout charts. Let's just look at the expansion contraction chart. Let's look at the new charting window here. And I'm going to get away from the default view, go into my views, go down to Kirkpatrick Weekly, Kirkpatrick RS, just to get a look at a weekly chart here. And you can see this sold off for the past couple of weeks, but it did reverse on the daily chart. And it's under, here is a VPA flag, a test, and then a high volume up bar. Closing indicates strength, so we're getting good VPA flags here. Here was a negative VPA flag, and then it went down. The 3 has not gone through the 6 yet, but it's setting up. Something to watch on Monday. How about Tilly's? Got overhead resistance here. It broke through and then it failed, but it's setting up. You can see this was up sharply. Maybe a news item. I'm going to hit my alternate N key. This is Tilly's earnings call, tops earnings and revenue. So that's what happened. You might want to go in and read the news on that. You bring the news up with the alternate N key, and you can get more information from the web. You can select the source. I just happened to be on FinViz, and I found the news. So my point is, yes, there are stocks and groups that go up on days like that, but they're very few, and there are very few of them. Let's just look at the industries, and I'll go to a different view. Clear this out of here and just go to top-down demand supply. Sort on raw combo. You can see the demand supply here of the groups that were up. Here's utilities. I mentioned earlier that was doing well, but rubber and plastics, home and office products, mass merchants, these are safe industries. Let's open this up and go down to the bottom. Transaction management systems, toys and games, steel, telecom, renewable energy. So just you can get a quick read with this, advancers versus decliners, or you can sort on the percentage price change one day and get a feel for the groups that were up. And you're not going to see any high-tech groups in here, I don't believe. Okay, that's it. I'm going to do that webinar on Thursday. We'll go through these again, and I'll show you some things about the spectrum analyzer, and we'll try to analyze some stocks too. We'll spend about an hour doing that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being an HGSI Insider Club member.